Welcome back to Dowsetting the Week. As you can see, we're still not in front of the whiteboard because I finished altitude training camp and then I came to the beach. Still training, but by the beach. Talk about what's happened in the last week. The Giro Donne, I've still not come to a sort of firm conclusion onto exactly how to pronounce that. That came to a close. Anna van der Breggen won her fourth Giro, and which is mad. Another stat, she time cut 12 people in her TT, which is also mad. And SD Works dominated as well. In the Tour de France, not much has changed actually. Cav's still leading the green, Pogacar's still leading the yellow. We had, but I think the most fascinating battle at the moment is the one for Lanterne Rouge, because ironically the guy that spends the most time on the front is the guy in last place, which is Tim de Klerk, and he's got a healthy gap to the next best worst rider, which isn't really fair because he's very good. But there's a good 15-minute buffer, and you know, if people actively go for the Lanterne Rouge, you know, you're playing a game of Russian roulette with time cut, because you're trying to then lose the maximum time possible without getting time cut. So it's a tough battle, but Tim is dominating it at the moment. So I think, barring injury and illness, like Pogacar, he's probably going to win it. So we'll move on to the hero of the week, and there's a few candidates because there's been a lot of solo breakaways. First candidate is Nils Pollitt, and Nils is in here, and not all the solo breakaway winners are in here. Nils I used to be teammates with, and very attacking rider, and when he was in the breakaway I was with my teammates and I said, Nils is going to be the first one to attack, it's going to be too early, and you know, I'll admit I said it's not going to happen. But he was the first to attack. He was the first then to attack again. Well, and it worked out. So he's got a Tour de France stage win under his belt, and I'm super happy for him. Jonas Vingegaard is the next, because he's the only rider in the Tour that's managed to expose any kind of weakness in Pogacar. I think even though he's a couple of years older, he is a real threat to Pogacar dominance over the next few years, because he can also time trial extremely well. For someone so tiny. So I think it's going to be a real interesting how the next few years pans out. You know, throw some Bernal and Remco in the mix, and it's going to be a very interesting few Grand Tours coming up. Wout van Aert ran second to Cav, reasonably close in a sprint, and then went and won the Mont Ventoux stage, which is mad. Like the green stage of the Tour, arguably, following running a close second to the greatest sprinter that's ever graced this planet. Anna van der Breggen she was going to win it, but then something happened in the early hours of this morning for 4 Giros, and rumour has it, or she's said she's retiring at the end of this year, which is unsurprising given this Olympic year, but surprising given the Tour Femmes is coming up next year, and it's an opportunity to win that. But you know, if she could bow out on an Olympic gold medal or 2, I think that would be pretty epic. And obviously SD Works for what they've done in just terms of dominating that race. A few curveball ones. The Andorra rest day. Any team that did an outdoors training ride or a non-static turbo trainer training ride gets a firm place in Hero of the Week, or maybe like WTF of the week, because it was in Andorra, and everywhere in Andorra is uphill, so that would have been the hardest recovery rides I think anyone has ever done. It wouldn't be the candidate list without Cavendish in here. Now, he has won a stage since we spoke last, however, he's in this just for this. We went and watched the Tour de France and the Andorra stage, and whilst a lot of riders were like, hey Alex, like Cav was the only one that came over and fist bumped. Before we head back and watch the finish, this is the Cavendish group with Cavendish in it, and if he says hello to us, he'll win Hero of the Week this week.
Let's go, Matt!
Cavendish! That's a fist bump as well, so he definitely wins Hero of the Week. So clearly he's a massive fan of the show and wants to keep his place in the Hero of the Week. England football players for just putting on a cracking tournament it's a little bit curveball because this is a cycling show, but I get to make the rules, so they're in here. But the winner is Lachlan Morton for finishing the Tour. He's won the Tour de France by a lot. He's there a good 5 or 6 days before the peloton. I saw there's a lot of infographics about his stats, which are mental, absolutely mental. Like the final day of, anyway, I think his average distance was 308 kilometers per day, but his last day was over 500 kilometers, 500k in a day. It's 320 miles. It's like 2 Milan San Remos. No, it's like 1 3/4 Milan San Remos in a day, after doing a lot of Milan San Remos prior to that without having any peloton to sit in. Like, it's mental. But the best stat of all is he raised 386,000 euros for World Bicycle Relief, and that's my favourite statistic of his whole lap of France, really. And I think it'll be his one as well. So we'll move on to the WTF of the week. A few here. Wout van Aert's one of them for his ride. Not for his sprint and Mont Ventoux combined, but actually for his ride on the Andorra stage, because he rode his heart out for Sepp Kuss, who won the stage, and then sat up from the breakaway, and then rode Jonas Vingegaard into the finish as well. I mean, to do those two things in one stage, I think is mental, and I don't think there's many other riders in the peloton, if any, that could physically do that. So that in my mind was like, maybe that was a hero move, but I was just like, that, like, WTF, what's going on? So that's why it's here. The GC standings in the Tour at the moment, there are 45 minutes that split the top 20, which is mental. Like, top 20 in the Tour is something to be really proud of, yet 20th is 45 minutes behind. It's a huge gap this year, and Wout is sitting in 16th place. So if there was a Strava style, like, when it tells you your segment, how you compare with people of a similar weight in your segment. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's winning everything above the welterweight category. Pretty much that and upwards is all like Wout van Aert, because but then the big question is what would have Mathieu van der Poel done if he was still in the Tour? So, not to, like, another WTF was the small minority of England fans after the football that really spoil for everyone with their racism and violence. It's quite a shame. I was so proud to be British, proud to be English, and then when I woke up the following morning I was just utterly ashamed of us as well. But it is a small minority, and I hope continued efforts of the majority of the population to bring racial equality to a normal level will continue to keep moving forwards and really drown out these lowlives. Those are the WTFs of the week. Coming up, final week of the Tour. Matthews is starting to close in a little bit on Cavendish's green jersey. There's not much Cav can do about it, because Matthews keeps getting in the break and keeps picking up those intermediates and finishing points if it's a flat finish. So I think all Cav can do is sit and wait for the next 1 or 2 sprint opportunities. But there's also Merckx's record, which we mustn't talk about, on the horizon as well. And I think there's a lot of chat about Cav racing next year, and part of me really hopes he does. Part of me wants him to win on the Champs-Élysées in the green jersey, breaking Merckx's record, and then just drop the mic and say, like, that's it, I'm done. Because I just think that would be an utterly heroic end to a utterly heroic story. But, you know, I think he likes winning, so I reckon he's just gonna soldier on. And then the rest of the world racing starts off. There's Sardinia, I think, is the first non-Tour de France race to kick off, and then we are into the last part of the season, so there's going to be more to talk about on this show other than the Giro, like the Giro Dom and the Tour de France, which is going to make my researching in a week far more complicated, but might make this quite a bit more entertaining. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.